What's the best ever James Bond theme tune? What are your top 3 Bond songs? You'd think that the charts would dictate which is the ultimate Bond hit. But did you know that for the first 50 years, not one single Bond theme went to the UK #1 spot? Not even Shirley Bassey. Not Paul McCartney. Not even Adele. And modern wisdom might say that Skyfall would be the top Bond hit. But there's only one Bond song that ever went to #1 in the Billboard charts in the USA. And it's probably not the one that you would sing in the shower. I thought that I could just shout out my top 3 Bond themes and everyone would just agree there'd be a common consensus. But I spent the last few days looking into the stats, the Spotify numbers, the record sales back in the day, and even the rejected demo songs for the themes from some very famous people that were rejected by the Broccoli family, the producers. And there is an incredibly shocking musical crime at the very birth of the whole James Bond franchise. So, hello connoisseurs of curiosity. Welcome to this walk in this AI-free space where we discuss the quirks of life, intriguing questions, and heartwarming stories. And this James Bond chat came up because I asked my friends in a WhatsApp group, do you think that the theme tunes in the Daniel Craig era have reduced in quality somewhat? Controversial. One of my friends was not having that because he's an absolutely massive Daniel Craig fan. He's even got one of the Omega Spectre watches, which is very nice. And if you are the Omega CEO, you can send me any of the James Bond watches. They're all very nice. And I will pay the postage and packing. Shipping costs are on me, no problem. But my friend was very much against my question that the Daniel Craig songs are a little bit inferior against the previous versions in the Roger Moore era and the Sean Connery era, even the Pierce Brosnan films. And I said, well, can you name any of the artists? Can you name any of the songs? Can you sing the songs? Which he had quite a bit of trouble with. So, can you name them? Can you sing them? I'm not sure they're that memorable. So when I first thought of this, I could only think of 2 artists. And I had to think, what were the songs called? But to get all 5 immediately off the top of my head without Googling was a bit of a struggle. So I could remember that there was, Adele and Skyfall. That's easy. But is Skyfall the best ever James Bond song that people can only remember one of the words, one of the lyrics? Skyfall, together, 2. 2 of the words. Okay, and what about the other ones? So let's come back to that because I spoke in the intro about the #1s in the UK and the USA. So let's do the USA first. Is that the measure of whether a song is great or not, if it hits the #1 in the USA? Which James Bond theme went to #1 in the USA? There's only been one. in the entire history. It was from the Roger Moore era, and the song was A View to a Kill by Duran Duran. Is that the best ever Bond song? It went to number 1 in the USA and number 2 in the UK. Now, the UK charts, the only number 1 from the Bond, the first song that went to number 1 in the UK from the Bond franchise, this really blew me away. Sam Smith. And when I read that in Wikipedia, then I was thinking, okay, what song was that? What even film was that? Do you know? Writings on the Wall is the song, and it is from the film, the Daniel Craig film, Spectre. I would not be able to sing you a single word of that song, not the chorus, nothing. I'm at a loss to even know what that sounds like. There is another song that I remembered when I was really thinking was done by Jack White and Alicia Keys, but I couldn't really remember much about the song apart from it kind of goes in that Jack White style, but I couldn't remember any of the lyrics. And then of course there's Billie Eilish with No Time to Die, and interestingly, Adele, Skyfall, Sam Smith, Writings on the Wall, and Billie Eilish, No Time to Die, all won the Oscar for the best song. Incredible. So the last 3 James Bond films have had the Oscar, 100% in the last 3 songs. But Sam Smith went to number 1 in the UK. However, it went to number 71 in the US Billboard charts. Does that say something about the quality of that song? So for me, I'm struggling to remember the lyrics, the tunes, and I think that the reason why Adele is so popular is because it replicated one of the earlier songs. Now let's talk about Spotify streams. The number 1 is, as you might imagine, Adele with Skyfall, with 1.3 billion streams. The next in the charts on Spotify for Bond is Billie Eilish, and she has a big drop off. She's around somewhere like 800 million streams. And the next one is Sam Smith in 3rd spot with, I think, about 100 or 150 million streams. And the first legacy tune from the Bond franchise at number 4 on Spotify is, any guesses? Paul McCartney, Live and Let Die. So should we be judging the quality on the Spotify streams? I think there's more to it than that. Live and Let Die is filling stadiums to this day. Paul McCartney, near the end of his concerts, Live and Let Die. They are firing fireworks. Guns N' Roses with the cover of Live and Let Die in the stadiums to this day as well. Also, fireworks. Do-do-do, do-do-do, do-do. I mean, that is an absolute rocker. And that will probably be played by some rock band in 50 years' time. Or maybe if Paul McCartney is still alive, he will still be doing it in 50 years' time. Go on, Paul. Let's go back to the legacy tunes, though, which is, as you can probably guess, where my favourites sit. Goldfinger, Rabada. Even the orchestration is really fun to sing in the shower and mess around with. It's just filled with hooks. And that incredible diva performance from Shirley Bassey, that set the bar for the Bond theme, didn't it? With those incredible brassy horn sections with the amazing strings and that hint of danger because of that Bond musical note, that interval that's a half tone. I think that the bar has not been raised since Goldfinger, but my favourites, I think, stand in the Roger Moore films with Live and Let Die, absolute barnstormer, and nobody does it better. Wow, Carly Simon, what melody, what a chill out vibe as well. And I think it's a popular funeral tune as well. I don't think you'd have Live and Let Die at your funeral. Maybe. But there's other tunes in that era. The Man with the Golden Gun from Sean Connery. No, that's Roger Moore as well. Lulu. What energy that has. Absolutely fantastic. And that brings us on to the demo tracks that were not chosen. So The Man with the Golden Gun was also recorded by Alice Cooper. And as he tells the story, it's a better tune than Lulu's. And Sir Christopher Lee, who was Scaramanga in The Man with the Golden Gun, said to him personally that it's a better song. But he said, Alice Cooper said that when he gave it to the producers, it was a day late. One day before they had signed the contract with Lulu. So that's a famous cover. Not cover, a demo, I'm sorry. I'll put that in the description so you can have a listen to it. It's very Alice Cooper-y. It's, I think, a bit Bondy. It's got that interval that's happening there. The Bond notes. And there are other famous demos that didn't quite make it. One was by Radiohead. So they submitted a song to the Broccoli family for Spectre. And I think it was called Man of War, which was a song that they'd already released. So that was rejected because if it's already been released, then it can't win an Oscar. So maybe the Broccoli family are just going for the Oscars all the time. So Radiohead stopped production of their album Moon-Shaped Pool to record another song called Spectre. And that was also rejected because Barbara Broccoli apparently said that it was too melancholy for the opening titles. It was too sad. So Radiohead, one of the biggest bands in the world, didn't make it. Quite amazing. And Johnny Cash did a demo that was also rejected. But I wanted to talk about that musical crime that I mentioned at the beginning. The whole beginning of the James Bond franchise. The tune that we all know, down, 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 possibly the most famous guitar riff in all of movies ever. The guitarist who played that riff, that iconic riff that just puts you in that James Bond mood immediately, he was a session guitarist in London, and his name was Vic Flick. What a fantastic name. And he was paid the grand sum of £7.50, which in today's money is 150 quid. And he didn't get a single royalty check. It's been used in all of the Bond films. He didn't get anything after his initial payment of £7.50. Quite astonishing. And John Barry, the composer who did so much to establish the whole James Bond sound, he was brought in for the first James Bond film, Dr. No, to work to revamp that famous guitar riff song, the James Bond theme, and he was paid 250 quid back then. But I think he earned more money when he was working on all the other films and doing the absolutely luscious orchestration that he did. His music is absolutely mouth-watering. They don't make music like that anymore. Hans Zimmer and his soundtracks, they're a bit dramatic, but I don't think they have the romance of some of that orchestration of John Barry. And contrast Vic Flick's £7.50 with the cost of one of Pierce Brosnan theme tunes by Madonna. Did you remember that Madonna had done a Bond theme? Do you remember the tune that she did? It was called Die Another Day. And the video for that cost $6.1 million, which in today's money is about 10 million. That has the dubious honor, that song, of being nominated for a Golden Globe and in the same year being nominated for a Golden Raspberry. Would Die Another Day go into your top 3 songs? Would it go into your top 10 Bond songs? Not so sure. So I don't think that any of the Daniel Craig era songs would go into my top 3. I think I'd have to go for Goldfinger, Live and Let Die, and Nobody Does It Better. Would be doing it for me in the top 3. And I think that the modern films in the Daniel Craig age, they have suffered from the first 2 songs were kind of not memorable. Casino Royale was done by Chris Cornell. And then there was the Jack White, Alicia Keys. But then they basically replicated the Goldfinger characteristics, those horns, the orchestration, that hint of danger, and the diva vocals from Adele. So I think since then they've been suffering from that need to win the Oscar, to replicate those sorrowful Adele type melodies and that ballad vibe and environment. And also there's this perfection in the Daniel Craig songs, because that's what the music business is these days. All instruments are recorded separately. There are multiple takes and drop-ins for the vocals, where they just drop in using Pro Tools software to correct one word, make one line a bit more aggressive, make one end of a word finish with a longer note. There's auto-tune. And so the digitization of the music world in general, I think, is there. It's present in all of the Daniel Craig Bond themes. Whereas in Goldfinger and Diamonds Are Forever, Shirley Bassey would have been singing in one single take with the orchestra, live. There's a motorbike coming. Just one sec. Let him go past. Wow. Didn't know you could have motorbikes in here. So, yeah, I think that the ambiance of those 1960s and 1970s, every musician in the room together playing and creating a magic moment, is not there in the modern era. And that's not the Broccoli's fault. It's not the artists' fault themselves. It's just the way of the world, with highly compressed music and maybe taking the life out of it a bit. I think though, if Shirley Bassey, if Goldfinger never existed, and the next James Bond film, whenever it happens, if she just dropped Goldfinger out of nowhere, that would blow up Spotify immediately. Absolutely killer tune. So for me, it's Goldfinger, Live and Let Die, and Nobody Does It Better, somewhere 2 and 3 there. So what would be yours? What's your top 3 and what's your ultimate Bond song? And is there an artist that you would love to see do the next Bond theme tune? Let me know down below. And I wonder if you could do me a favour. Could you hit like? It's free, and the best things in life are free. And so, connoisseur of curiosity, until next time, keep thinking, keep up the curiosity, be kind. Toodaloo.